And we're back. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.
Whew.
I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox, here with my guest, Danny Lapidus.
Hello.
Recording engineer. You were just listening to a little clip from some music I recorded at his studio here in Midtown, Pod Noise, several years ago. I'm just a Southern blues boy at heart. It's actually, I grew up in Nashville and then moved to Virginia, to Norfolk and Virginia Beach, Virginia. And there was a lot of blues. So I was playing, like just blues gigs, like open mics and stuff as a kid, really young. And my dad was into classic rock big time. And so that was always on. And I would imitate that. I would play like entire Led Zeppelin albums, in my bedroom as a kid when, just a drum set and like with a tape, turn the tape deck all the way up and play along with it. So that the theme of that album, by the way, it's called Blues in Space. Yeah. Because we're third space. Yeah. But there's a lot more on that later. Back to Danny and his story. So we were talking earlier about Danny's beginnings in music, studying in high school, performing in college, but not necessarily following the recording engineer music degree, just getting a general liberal arts degree. And then you hit the streets. And you got into recording. What did that look like? How were your you started meager from the stories you told me, but then you built up to like some really amazing stuff. How did that all get started for you?
Well, I was playing gigs. I had my own band. I was playing out and I was playing playing saxophone in clubs and stuff. And I met my partner to be, Rich Mercurio, who, one of the finest drummers in town. And so we were good friends and we were playing together a lot. And I got really lucky that another friend of mine had a prop shop, and they had props everywhere, like 20,000 square feet on West 26th, West 26th, almost all the way on 12th. The Starrett Lehigh building, I think. No, I forgot the name of the building, but huge space, and he let me squat in there and soundproof it up and get a little under the radar studio going. Rich jumped in with me there, and I was producing my own albums primarily. And then Rich started bringing in better equipment and a better class of people. So better clients.
What was the kind of music you were producing your own stuff? What were you making, and what was the intention behind it?
I had two things going in my life musically at that time that were the main things besides playing little gigs here and there. One was playing, to empty, depressing bars at night on Bleecker Street, my depressing rock and roll, and singing about, singing
about drinking,
no, more like poetic imagery that people may not have related to.
But there was definitely drinking.
It was a great band, to tell you the truth. I mean, I had really great players in it. And it was called Daruma Shakes, and I was doing that at night, and I was playing kids music during the day,
which is where the money's at.
It's also the better audience.
Yeah,
they're much happier. They you don't. Then they might cry, but it's not. It's not like an empty bar.
Tears of joy.
Right. So I was creating all the albums for the kids thing, which is Hot Peas and Butter, like you said.
So this was the beginning of that.
Hot Peas was first.
Yeah.
Before the recording. Hot Peas existed. That's a whole story.
So why don't you elaborate about Hot Peas and Butter, because this is part of your hustle, and this is one leads to the other. So give us the background on Hot Peas and Butter.
There's another Brooklynite named Professor Louie who played music to kids and families for like 40 years, and I started following him with my sax and learning his repertoire. He's like a second father to me, and he handed me his repertoire, which is a lot of public domain stuff, like folk music, but a lot, and then me and my partner Latinized it. He's a great bass player, Francisco Caro, and we did a whole like Spanish bomba plena is like Puerto Rican mountain music. We created a whole sound, and we started playing concerts out of nowhere. Like we played. One of the first things we did was we got called to play in a school with special and regular ed classes in the Bronx, and we didn't have a set together so much, but we just played. And one of the teachers came up to us afterwards and said one of the girls who never speaks started clapping and dancing.
That's fantastic.
And we both like, I mean, I think Frank like teared up. Like it really meant a lot. And he said to me, we should name this thing and make records. So that was way before all of this. I mean, I just thought I was a rock and roll guy and trying to play jazz sax.
I still think I am.
Yeah. Well, you are, man. You are. But so that was the germination, and we created Hot Peas and Butter, and now we're going on. We just released our 8th album called Back to the Land.
Awesome.
And I have produced, mixed, mastered. No, I'm sorry, I didn't master all of them. I've mixed and recorded all of them. And now I master them all. And this one had Dan Zanes and Peter Yarrow and Laurie Berkner and all these amazing players on it. So I'm really proud of that. So that was happening while I was getting gigs in my apartment and just enough money to buy a great mic and maybe one mic pre and work on cans, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was, okay, so that's one side. And the other side was making these records for my, which I thought were going to be big hits and shopping myself as an artist.
Right.
But that trip going down the Room of Shakes, and it was earlier called The Path, I met Oz Noy, Rich Mercurio, all these great players, Robert Rodriguez, all these amazing musicians who led me circuitously to recording because Rich, I didn't know, was so interested in recording. He was on the Upper West Side. When I found the space on 34th, he joined me. And next thing I know, he's bringing in real artists.
And you said some extra gear to
yes. I was like, why don't you, he wanted to pay the rent a little bit with me. I was like, no, just hang out. See. So he started soundproofing it better. And he brought in like the first couple of Neves and the first, he brought in the Pro Tools rig.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he went far and above.
Yeah.
And within like a year, I was like, let's just be 50-50 on everything. And then that Hudson Yards killed that building. They didn't even know we were there because we were like
the best way to do it.
We said maybe we could fight this, and they were like, they don't even know you're here.
Yeah.
You're out. So we ran to the next space, which ended up being 251 West 30th, which was a great existence for 8 years.
Yeah.
And there we brought in our third partner, Lee Nadell, who's a bass player. You may know him from the musical Waitress, and he's just a great musician. And we got a lot more gear, and then real artists, Sarah Bareilles comes in.
Give us. I mean, I used to see the pictures.
Yeah,
like your Facebook posts, and I'd be like, "What?"
Yeah,
and it was great because it was like right around the time I recorded there.
Yeah,
I just missed these people. So give us who were like some of the top people in your opinion that you were just like, "Oh man, this was amazing."
Well, drummers, Keith Carlock. Do you know who that is?
No,
he's probably my favorite drummer that ever came through the doors.
I thought I was.
Yeah, well, I mean, second favorite drummer, Keith Carlock. He plays with Steely Dan I'm not. He does a lot of regular gigs on that level, like Sting and stuff. And I remember him recording and me not being able to like work because I was just falling in, like looking through the window, like so entranced. But I would say I was always nervous when they were really big.
Yeah.
But BB Winans,
I remember that.
He came in and sang, and it was ridiculous. I mean, it's one. These are the learning experiences as a musician where you're like, if someone can sing like that, all you do is put a microphone close to them
and let them go,
and it can't go it cannot go wrong. And he's an intimidating figure. So that was the greatest. And what's interesting is like he's there. I never would have said, "Hey, BB, can I work with you on something else?" I would never have been that bold.
Right.
But within a year, we got him to sing a song that we wrote. Me and John DeNicola, who is like a huge songwriter, and I was starting to like move and shake a little. I was starting to like take risks.
Yeah.
And when he said I couldn't believe he said yes, and he did it. So. Anyway, so Sarah Bareilles, obviously the biggest, and Warren Haynes came in, and it was freaky. I mean, he's playing a guitar solo right behind me, And then I had to edit a little bit, and he dug it. He was like, oh, why don't you do that? He helped me like mix it a little bit, and I was like, this is Warren Haynes, one of the finest guitar players in the world. And so Warren Haynes, Jonathan Dinklage, and the string section from Hamilton came in, and Jonathan Dinklage, who by the way is Peter Dinklage's brother. Isn't that wild? And if again, who would have been bold enough to say, "Hey, Jonathan, can you get me tickets?" But I saw Hamilton through this guy.
Well, it's like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You ask somebody, and they're like, "No."
Right. Well, that's what I'm learning.
And as somebody who sets out on their own path, it's all about risks, right? I mean, your whole life leading up to that point is risks. And sure, you don't want to be.
It's almost like not
want to be overt.
It's not like I don't really think it's luck. It's definitely timing, right place, right time. But it's like having your energy, like being in the middle of it, and being open to it. I mean, Catherine McPhee I only recorded her. Next thing I know, I'm mixing some things because they just felt like, let's just get this guy to do it.
Yeah.
And I think I gave a good vibe. So they would.
Well, that's a huge part of it. I mean, if you're a business owner, or you're providing a service, and you got that good feeling, which I've always gotten from you, that goes a tremendous.
Oh, it's huge, yes.
That offers so much value. There was something I was going to say, and it totally escaped me.
There's more names. I could drop more names.
We were talking enough about you. One of you said something about luck. I remember what I was going to say. You said something about luck, and I've been thinking about luck or fortune a lot lately. And I heard this quote, and they said, luck or fortune is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. Yeah. So like your preparation for all this was like all your experience.
Oh, I got something I want to say.
Oh, go for it. Go.
Well, as a musician, you're expected to be able to kill the music. You're already expected to be an amazing player.
You have to have a good product.
You're not getting a Broadway pit position if you can't read like a
Right, exactly.
So that's a given.
Okay, you can curse. You can say bad.
I'm sorry. I'm a children's musician too, so I can't.
Got it.
But
your reputation to maintain.
Right. So you got to be great, I'm sure, in any field, right? That we're talking about as being an entrepreneur. But that's like 10% of getting the gig.
Sure.
So you got to be in New York City a great musician, and it's got to be without even saying it. If you show up, you don't have the goods, of course you don't get it. But that was the other thing. So that's what I thought of when you just said preparation as practice.
It's all your experience. But that's just like the small part of it. But then you got this opportunity. This opportunity crosses in front of you. You have the preparation. You've done the work, and in your mind, you're like,
how do you grab
do I do this?
Yes.
Do I take this opportunity?
Right.
And then the other thing I've heard a lot lately that I struggle with is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes,
like if you want Hamilton's tickets and this person is part of the organization, like don't be afraid. Like I definitely get like, no, man, I'm not asking that person. I got to do this all on my own, which is ridiculous.
And more than just favors, more like how to get better at what you do. You cannot be afraid to ask. But when the opportunity comes, like, do you grab it? And if it seems like out of your realm of expertise, do you grab it? Do you say yes to the gig? And you have to.
Yeah.
Well, look at you, man. You say yes to you, and you're killing
too much. All right. So when we come back, we're going to take a short break. We're going to hear a little bit more of the music Danny recorded that I just happened to be there that day of. But also we're going to talk about, what happened to Pod Noise, what happened in that building, and some of the crazy, talk about the intersection of opportunity and preparation,
right?
How sometimes you just can't be prepared enough. You have no idea
New York City.
What's coming your way. We'll be back shortly. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.